Well, thank you so much for having me here. Let me say that my response to your question may not be palatable to you, but I think we can dissect it.
The truth.
There is no democracy in Africa. There is no democracy in Africa. I think that the contraption and the concept or the philosophy of democracy was captured from the developed world, from America, from UK, from the Western world, and brought as a form of leadership here, and without a clear-cut desire to follow through with the democratic ethos and democratic ethics and ideas. And so we brought a concept, brought it to Africa, abused the concept, desecrated the concept, and practiced something with a form or a similitude of democracy. But actually, we don't have democracy in Africa. And I have reasons for saying so. And
what are your reasons?
You see, the fact is, all over Africa, I've looked at sub-Saharan Africa and other parts of Africa, the most backward nations, both in Africa and in most parts of the world, are nations that pretend to practice democracy, and they don't practice democracy. Now, let me say this. There are over 20 things characteristic of a democratic environment.
Let's hear them.
But because of the brevity of this interview, I'm going to talk about just 3. There are 3 indications to portend to anybody that there is democracy in a setting. Number 1, the rule of law. Number 2, separation of power. Number 3, the power of the people. And I'm going to be very brief on them. The rule of law. Any country that has no regard for the rule of law definitely cannot claim to be practicing democracy. What is the rule of law? Rule of law is equality before the law. Rule of law is, like I will paraphrase it, the law is the king. So everybody that breaks the law comes under the judgment of the law.
The king.
Rule of law indicates or connotes that there is nobody above the law. We do not have rule of law in Nigeria. According to Professor Lee Shigwang, what we have in Nigeria is rule by law. What do they do in Nigeria? Rule by law is simply the act of suppressing the people by the instrumentality of the law, weaponizing the law to deal with people. Whenever you do not have rule of law in any environment, there cannot be democracy. What is the rule of law? Equality before the law means that certain people cannot be above the law. Any environment where there is a discriminatory application of the law, where there is a segregationist mentality of the law, where the law goes to sleep when some people break the law, when the law bites when others break the law, that is simply not an environment where people can succeed, both economically, socially, culturally, politically, and in every kind of indices of development and growth. And that is why any country that has no rule of law cannot be said to be having democracy. Do we have rule of law in Nigeria? We know that we cannot be said to be having democracy. Do we have rule of law in Nigeria? We know that we can't say there is rule of law in this country. Number 2, separation of power. Separation of power is where the 3 arms of government are a checks on each other. The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary are arms of government that are they practice checks and balances.
Coordinate equality, as it were.
Equality. All over Africa, I have done a study. My master's degree study was on democracy. And I did a study. And the study indicates that all over Africa, there is no proper separation of power. The executive have a preponderating influence over every arm of government. The legislature does not have the checks and balances that are supposed to have over the executive. And that is why you have a spoon-fed legislature where they are not able to question the executive. And so the executive can just bring any bill, anything just goes in that kind of environment. There are no checks, there are no balances. Then number 3, there is no judiciary. The judiciary, as we have in this country and in most African countries, are cash and carry judiciary, where you have a judiciary that cannot be the last hope of the common man. Then there cannot be democracy. These arms are created to be a checks of each other. So at the point of proper decision making, there should be some valid, well thought out decision that will come out of this. But because there are no checks and balances, there cannot be any kind of democracy. Any democracy without proper separation of power is a defective democracy, is in fact not democracy. And number three is the power of the people. In every democracy, the people are the boss. The people have the capacity to decide who to be the leader and who not to be the leader. Any system where the people have lost the power to decide who rules them or who leads them, who is their president, who is their governor. Any system where the people do not have the capacity to decide to sack or to employ anybody, democratically speaking, electionary speaking, I think that is the beginning of problem for any system. The reason why democracy has not worked in Africa is because we have denied the tenets, we have denied the ethos, we have denied the principle, we have actually, as a matter of fact, we have abused the principles, and democracy cannot succeed in this country. And the difference between the developed world and the underdeveloped world is the principle of is the principle of the rule of law. The difference between any progressive society and the retrogressive society is the rule of law.